Hello. So it's been a while. For those who do not know, I'm a university student, and more specifically, I'm in my final year of uni. And this basically means that it's been pretty full on since I've started back in September, and the project we got for the start of the year has been more or less consuming my whole entire life. So in this video, I wanted to actually show you what I had to do and ultimately what the outcome for this project was. But first, I should probably actually tell you what the brief was. We were tasked to become a freelance fashion communicator who was hired to produce a hero campaign. For those who do not know what a fashion communicator is, it is someone who uses various media types to share a brand's message with a target audience. And a hero campaign is a big PR campaign that aims to increase brand awareness and attention. For example, Burberry's campaign titled The Freedom of Our Imagination, which was an outerwear collection campaign and was basically based on blurring the lines between reality and fantasy. In their campaign, they created a film, images, and much more. Fashion campaigns like this are basically to advertise a new collection and aims to grow brand awareness. So that's basically what I had to do. The main objectives was to promote the Spring/Summer 25 collection, its narratives and themes, as well as the overall brand identity through campaign messaging, creative, and deliverables. Also increase market share by targeting new customers through campaign messaging, creative, and deliverables. And finally, we had to develop brand authority and awareness by getting people talking about and engaging with the brand through campaign messaging, creative, and deliverables. We had to do this by creating 6 hero campaign images both with and without logo, a 30-second hero campaign film, a 10 to 15-second reel cut down from the campaign film, an e-commerce photo shoot capturing 3 full looks, 4 images per looks, and 12 images in total, a 6-page fashion editorial for an appropriate fashion magazine, a website homepage activation mockup, 3 e-commerce mockups presenting the e-commerce imagery on the brand's e-commerce platform, a single or double-page print magazine advertisement mockup, a billboard or poster advertisement mockup, and finally 4 social media mockups, 3 posts featuring hero campaign images and 1 post featuring the hero campaign film. So yeah, that was a lot we had to do. However, I haven't actually told you the brand that I chose to create the campaign for. We were given a massive list of brands, Spring/Summer 2025 collection, and we could only pick one. And one that stood out the most for me was Harry. Something about the really bold inflatable shapes and the limited black and white color palette really drew me in. I think why else it also spoke to me was because the first thought I had was, I want to recreate this in Blender. And so it was decided I will create a campaign for Harry. However, it's not as simple as just going straight into the creating phase of this project. I had to actually research and dissect every part of the brand and the collection. More specifically, I needed to find out the narratives and themes behind their collection. And the main narratives I found were comprised into 6 key themes. And these themes were otherworldly realm, tradition and innovation, unknown discoveries, reflective and fantastical, dark and apocalyptic, and finally, transformation of powerful beings. With these themes, I could now start thinking of my own narrative behind the collection and start the experimentation stage. The narrative was started by my love for the movie Interstellar, more specifically the ice planet scene where Cooper, Brand, and Romilly meet Man, and spoiler alert, Cooper and Man eventually fight and Romilly gets blown up by the sabotaged spaceship. But I'm more focused on the actual environment of the ice planet. The stark white and grey colour palette mixed with the enormous mountainous landscape and the eeriness of the vast emptiness made me think this would be a perfect reference to create the setting for my campaign, as the black garments could really contrast and stand out against a white background. However, I needed a story and I needed models. So I looked back at the key themes and wanted to focus on the theme, tradition and innovation for the models, and transformation of powerful beings for both the models and the story. At this point, I already knew that I wanted the models to be extraterrestrial, but I didn't fully know what I wanted them to look like. So I looked at references like E.T., Mars Attacks, and even the comedy movie Paul. I wanted to highlight the theme tradition by creating models that were reminiscent of how aliens were classically depicted in movies and in the images you'd see when you'd actually search the term alien. So with this in mind, I went into DAZ 3D and started to create these models. In total, I created 4. 2 were standalone models and 2 were a set of twins. The reason for doing a set of twins was because I was going to create the mitosis look from Harry's collection. A look that reminds me of those humorous oversized jumpers, but high fashionified. I also should mention that the other 2 models would be wearing the shadow jacket look and the black hole jacket look. Now that I have my setting, my models, and have identified what they would be wearing, I needed an actual narrative for the campaign. When researching Harry, I found that he had a logo that he doesn't really use too often, and this actually sparked an idea. There's this scene in Space Odyssey where the character Dave is on his deathbed and sees the monolith directly in front of him. He points out to it and is then transformed into a star child. This is more or less my idea. I want Harry's logo to be a monolith on this planet, and this monolith granted these aliens the garments to survive in their harsh conditions. And what are these harsh conditions? Well, on this planet, it's gripped by a nuclear winter, the devastating aftermath of a war between 2 advanced worlds. Once a thriving civilization, it is now an icy wasteland. Yep, that's the story. I personally think this is a really cool story that could potentially perhaps be picked up by a filming company or something. Anyway, I should also say that I called this planet Cryovora. I feel the name fits well as cryo for cold, and I added a little bit of spice to make it more sci-fi-y. The models' names are also Azrith, Nivron, and the twins Zytheris and Zythera. I think these names are sci-fi enough, but also I think it suits them. But now it is finally the moment you've all been waiting for, actually creating the campaign. So let's jump into it. If you're wondering why I look different, it's because it's the next day and I just got back from uni, so that's why my hair is a mess. But here we are, creating the logo or the monolith first, and I'm just creating shapes out of an image I got of Harry's logo I found online, and I'm creating my own shape. I say my own shape, I'm just tracing over it because I wanted to get a cleaner look, but also because I'm going to be turning this into an SVG to export it into Blender and then eventually make it 3D. So now we're in Blender, exporting it in, just extruded the edges and setting up some lighting, changing the materials, the good stuff. So yeah, really simple and quick and easy for the logo, and that's the monolith done. And now I'm creating the landscape, and I change it up a bit as the video goes on, but just setting up a simple landscape using the landscape meshes in Blender and giving a clouds displace modifier to a plane because I wanted some planes to add more ground around the scene. Now I'm setting up the material. It's just a simple mountain material. I'll link down below what I followed to create the snowy mountain material if you want to use the same material for the mountains that I used here. I also changed the actual environment texture to one I think I got it from PBR or Polyhaven, one of the two. If I can find the exact one I use, I'll link it down below, but other than that, just look on Polyhaven and type in the sky texture, and one similar or the same one will come up as well. With the material pretty much done, I wanted to get a good look of how the monolith actually looked in the scene. So in a sec, I'll just bring that in here and I kind of put it in a weird angle. I just wanted to get a good look. Here I was also thinking about maybe using the actual inbuilt sky texture in Blender, but I don't. I revert back to what I had before because it just looked a lot nicer than trying to play around with the sky texture in Blender. And so here in a second, I'm gonna duplicate a couple of the landscape of that I just created, and I'll duplicate it a couple times and kind of dot it about the seam. Like I said earlier, as this video goes on, there will be a lot more mountains than what you're about to see in a second, as from my references in Interstellar, it needed to look more grander than just two other landscapes in the background. We'll come to see what I end up doing. With the landscape set up, it is now time to actually create the garments for my inhabitants, my aliens on Cryovora. So now is just creating the garments using the simplest tool in Blender. The simplest way or technique to do it in Blender is just adding in a simple plane and subdividing it like 4 times, then adding a cloth modifier and adding another subdivision modifier at the bottom of the cloth modifier, and then deleting a hole in the neck and also each corners of the plane. So then you're just left with front, a back, and a side piece. And this just makes it a lot easier and quicker to mold. And also with the subdivision modifiers left on, don't apply them because that's when it goes pear-shaped. As soon as you apply them without actually simulating it, it goes a bit ham. So always when you're sculpting or modeling clothes in Blender, don't apply the subdivision modifiers yet, because you want to be able to actually model and form the garment around the model while there's like no faces. If that makes sense, it's just a lot quicker, it's easier, and you'll have a lot smoother time modeling this way. So here's when I add the spikes to the shadow jacket, and do excuse the fact how far I pull the vertices up. I do end up solving this later on, but just bear with the fact of how ridiculous it looks right now. I do sort this out later on, but I also will set vertex groups for the tip of that sounded weird, for the tip of the spikes, and then also the neck. So the neck and the spikes, they stay in place. But I also add another vertex group of the whole entire spike, and I add that to the pressure. The pressure in the cloth modifier will give it that more inflated look. So now I'm just baking it to get a good look of how it looks. As you can see, the spikes are a lot lower now. This was also just an initial test, but I do end up using this top and expand on it later on. All I do pretty much is I just bring the top all the way down to turn it into a dress almost. Super simple, easy. So I'm just sculpting out the spikes as well, getting it to something I like. So now I've added a latex black shiny material, the easiest material to create in Blender. You just turn the roughness right down, make it black. So as you can see off to the side, I finished the other garment. I forgot to record that part, but like I said, all I did was just bring the bottom of the top down to make it a full dress. And now I'm moving on to the next model, and I'm creating the black hole jacket look, and basically doing the exact same process as I did with the first one, except what I do differently, instead of creating spikes from the plane already, I actually will add in a torus that I attach to the garment. Just adding the same settings from the cloth on the last model onto this one, and doing the same thing where I'm just molding and sculpting the dress around and joining faces to faces around the body. And now with the base done, here I am adding in the torus. I'm just trying to play around with the spacing, and I also cut a good chunk of the bottom of the torus off and get it in a place where I like the positioning of it that's close to the actual black hole jacket. When you want to join vertices to vertices, also I should mention, before I'm joining the vertices, I select both the torus and the garment, hit Ctrl J to join them together as one mesh, and then I'm grabbing each vertice at the bottom of the torus, and while having auto merge ticked on, I keep it to 1 centimeter because it's quicker. It snaps right on really quick, and just joining them up. Just going in sculpting tool as well, inflating it a bit more to give it more inflated puffy look, and added the material, and that's the second garment done. So next is Zytheris and Cythera. This one was somewhat easier because I didn't have to go through the whole process of sculpting another garment again, because what I did is I just duplicated the exact same one that I did for Nivron and duplicated it twice on the twins. And then what I do is I join the center of the torus together, which you'll see, and I'll try to explain a bit better as well when it gets to that. But here I am adding in the exact same model again, adding the same skin shaders and duplicated that same garment again. And now next I actually have to move the twins closer together because I want them to be holding hands like the models did walking down the runway in Harry's show. So I just adjusted. This is cheating? No, not cheating. This is using the tools that are given to me. Instead of me deleting the whole arm and doing it again, I just sculpted those arms in the new arm position. It gets a bit fiddly trying to do this though, but it works, and that's all that matters. Is if it works, then who cares if it's the wrong way? That's my take on it. So now I'm just moving the garments closer together, and I'm just deleting like the center part because I'm going to do the same thing as I did with joining the torus to the garment, and this time I'm joining the torus to torus. And here I am positioning the hands to be holding. How sweet, how cute is that? But that's pretty much the final garment done now. So the next thing I decided to do is actually create the film. So what ends up happening is that I ended up creating a film that was 1 minute long when it was supposed to be 30 seconds long, but I do fix that. But at the end I say they have an option to choose from a 1 minute version or a 30-second version. But here I am creating the film nonetheless. So as I said earlier, I eventually added a ton more landscapes to really fill out the scene and make it feel quite Colossus and quite ginormous. The mountains, very crazy. But so I'm animating the first scene where the camera will zoom in to the monolith, and as the camera's zooming in, the monolith is rotating at 360 degrees. I also wanted to mention I rendered this whole film in Eevee, as imagine trying to render this on cycles with not a too high spec PC just is a time waster when Eevee looks just as good. So I did it in Eevee. So once I rendered out the first scene of zooming into the logo, this is the part where I start going through every model, animating them in random ways and moving the camera in different ways too. So maybe the camera's going up and down, maybe the camera's going in and out, maybe the camera's going side to side. For each model, I just do this pretty much, and they're all animating in a different way. And I don't know how many total of clips I rendered out, but it was quite a bit. I think I did like 3 for each model in total with just random like 3-second clips of them animating and moving. It's very random and sporadic. I'm just kind of positioning. Well, that wasn't very nice, was it? Anyway, yeah, I'm just positioning them in ways and in positions that I like the look of, basically. There's no real thought behind, well, there's thought behind why I'm positioning them in these ways, but it's not like I'm following a certain reference for these poses. Just some sort of movement to make the video interesting, because it would be boring if the model's just standing there. Or in my first ever digital fashion film I created, which I might put up on the screen now, I just rotate the models 360 degrees. We are not doing that. We are not taking the quick road, or what the saying is. I am working myself hard here. I am pushing the boat out. I'm thinking outside the box, and I'm actually animating the limbs of the models instead of just rotating them. I don't even know if that made sense, but I think you get me. You understand me. But yeah, this film is definitely an upgrade from my first digital fashion film I created. Here I am doing the same thing, animating Nivron, the next model, in another different position, different way. Super random, super abstract, super high fashion movements is what I'm trying to go for. And also the final models, the twins. Don't forget the twins. I think these guys are the star of the show. And now I'm in good old CapCut to edit the film. I literally went into this just to have fun and play around with loads of different things in the program. I didn't really have an idea. All I knew is that it needs to look high fashiony and it needs to still feel like it's part of Harry's collection, campaign, and the brand identity. That was my main focus. I wasn't tying down to a reference. This is just me having fun and playing around with the edit. At the end, I'm going to show you everything because for this project, we had to create a campaign deck, which I actually presented today, by the way. That's why I was at uni. I was presenting it. So I'll actually show you the campaign deck and show you everything in its entirety at the end. So the next thing I had to do was create the 6 hero campaign images because I did the 30-second hero film. By the way, I also created the 10 to 15 second reel by just cutting it down to 10 to 15 seconds basically. But now I needed to do the 6 hero campaign images. So as it's 3 models, I thought perfect, 2 images for each model. These images went through a lot of trial and error. I went through a lot of editing phase, but I won't leave in the video the editing that went wrong. I'll only show you the edit that went right because the edit that went wrong would just add more time to this video when this video is probably too long than it needs to be. So I'm trying to cut out as much time as possible. Also, my light just went out. So we are gonna carry on this video without proper lighting. I hope you do not mind. So yeah, I just added keyframes to the pose again, and so that the cloth can simulate into the actual pose so that I can render it with the garment in its right position. So for the actual poses of the models, this is when I used reference for the poses because it's pretty hard to try and get a pose when you don't have a reference because you're trying to make it look anatomically correct and you don't want it to look weird. So for the campaign images, I did follow references for them. I just kind of looked at references that I found most interesting and that I thought would suit the character and the idea I had around them. Because in the campaign deck, I actually give them different roles and sort of what they're about and what they do on Cryovora, which I will tell you at the end. But yeah, so with each model, I just do the same thing as I'm doing with Azrith and simulating their pose and then rendering the images. So as it's 2 images per model, I do 1 close-up and 1 full body shot. So the first pose you saw earlier, that became oh no, you're seeing the editing that went wrong. Oh no. Anyway, what I was saying was that close-up shot, full body shot, yeah, you get the gist. So now I'm doing it to all the other models. Nivron's got his hand on his hip. He's adding a bit of spice. He's the biz. I don't know what I'm saying. And then I also did like a sort of holy pose because it's a circular shape. I thought it would look cool if he had his arms like that. And now with the twins as well. For the twins, they don't need to do anything crazy with hands on their hips or anything. You know what I mean? They're the twins. They're like, I guess they'd be like the angsty ones. They're the angsty twins. They don't really care. I'm just trying to think of personalities for them to make it more interesting. And so here is when I do the correct editing. And I do the images in black and white because it looked the nicest. Because I tried for hours trying to get the coloured versions to work. It was not working. So I did it in black and white and I think it looks really nice in black and white. And I just used the camera raw filter in Photoshop. I didn't play around with the adjustments as, I don't know. I came to realise who needs the adjustments when you've got the camera raw filter. Do you know what I mean? Like it has everything in it. So I didn't use any adjustments really. Well, I did use a couple adjustments, but that was like minor, very minor tweaks I added. This is me editing all of the images I've rendered from Blender. And so next is the fashion advertorial. Because I don't know if you remembered, but at the start of the video, I explained how there's also, very quickly, when I was given the list, it was a 6-page fashion advertorial for an appropriate fashion magazine. I chose Dazed, and the fashion advertorial images had to be different from campaign images. So I did this super cool foggy effect and just a spotlight. And I was inspired by the spotlight from an image on Harry's actual Instagram. So already. It suits his vibe. He's done it before. He'd like it. But I kind of might just be me, but I like what I did with the fashion advertorial more than the campaign. I think there's only one campaign image that I fully like, and that's the close-up of Azrith. I'm gonna be honest, but let me know what you think. But overall, I really like the simplicity of the setting in the fashion advertorial. I just love the dramatic effect that the lighting gives. But for the 6-page advertorial, I end up doing 2 full body shots in the spotlight of Nivron and Azrith, and then I do 1 full page spread, well, 2 full page spreads, and this is using a different lighting technique that was also inspired by a photo on Harry's Instagram, which I'll put up on the screen now, where it's a spotlight behind the circle, so it only illuminates the circle part of the garment, and I think that looks really cool. It's very simple, but it's effective and it looks cool. So that's what I did with Nivron and the twins. So Nivron got that circular lighting effect on a double page spread, and then he also got a full body shot next to Azrith on another double page spread, which you will see in the campaign deck at the end. But here I am adding that lighting effect to Nivron, and you might be wondering, why is he positioned off to the right in the camera? Well, that's because in Dazed, in the magazine, I'd want the first page to have a title and then a short description at the bottom. So I purposely left that space on the left to give me the space to write a title and a description of the campaign at the bottom. And I'm also adding that same lighting that I just did to the twins. And now we are on the final step of the project, well, in Blender more specifically, as I still had to do mock-ups and editing. I didn't record me doing the mock-ups as it's not that interesting. I just created mock-ups, you'll see. But now it's e-commerce images, and e-commerce images are basically the images that you see on websites. I'll put up an example from Harry's website of what an e-commerce page would look like as if you select an actual piece. So that's what the e-commerce images mean, it's that image. And so that's what I'm doing here. And I rendered them on a transparent background so that when I brought it into Photoshop, I could add my own white background and add my own editing. But here is going to be a repetitive process of moving the model's arms by their side, sculpting the garment to look nice, and then just rotating the camera around the model, and the camera is parented to an axis. So that's what I do for every model. And so now it's finally actually the thing you've been waiting for, the outcome of this project. Also, I got the light back. I don't know how long it's going to stay on for, but let's hope till the end of this. So as I said earlier, I presented a campaign deck today to my tutors at university, and a campaign deck is basically to just show everything you've done for a campaign, like everything from the images, a film, to the e-commerce images, to how it would look on billboards, etc. And so we shall begin the campaign deck. I'm not going to read off my script. This light is going to be the bane of my existence. It is constantly just trying to attack me. Yeah, as I said, I'm not gonna use the script I wrote for this. I'm just gonna kind of wing it for you guys, because in this video I already told you the story, so we just need to get into what I actually did. So at the start, you'll see an overview. I'm covering it right now, but I'll move out of the way. So if you want to read the slides, you can pause them and read them yourself. So that's the overview, just to kind of, yeah, it's an overview just to let you know what you're about to see. And then we got the discovery page. So this page is basically talk about what you found out about the brand. So it's about, I found out about Harry's values and also the collection's narrative and themes. And then also the customer you are targeting for this campaign. So I'm targeting primarily Gen Z, step focused. You want to read the bottom one as well. This is pretty much industry practice in the fashion industry. So this is what a lot of people have to do for a campaign. And so then we've got the objectives and the strategy, which I've already highlighted at the start of this video as well. And then the problem. So my initial problem that I had with Harry's campaign is that in his actual images for this campaign, it didn't actually have like this otherworldly theme. I'll put up some pictures of what his actual campaign images look like. They weren't given otherworldly transformation of powerful beings or dark and apocalyptic. They were just models in their garments doing a cute pose in black and white. So I wanted to change that. So my insight, so this is basically me saying what can change this. So I basically just said CG immersive storytelling, so 3D modeling and all that good stuff could really highlight them themes. And so then my idea, which is the planet, which I already spoke about at the start. And then we are going to meet the inhabitants. This is where I'm actually going to tell you a bit about them. So Azrith is the guardian, and she's the protector of the monolith, and she embodies energy and serves as a silent sentinel. So she's the protector of the monolith. I'd say she's probably the wisest out of the bunch. No offense to Nivron or the twins, but Nivron is the wanderer. So he roams the planet and kind of just picks up stuff he finds and collects them because he tries to be very knowledgeable. He's kind of like the Heimerdinger on Cryovora, maybe. And then Cytheris and Cythera, they're the alchemical twins. So they craft remedies, tools, and all that good stuff. So the twins are kind of like Singed, if you're an arcane fan, you get me. So these are Singed, Heimerdinger, and I'd say Azrith is given, I don't know what she's given, but she's given something. Now it's time for the actual images. So this is how the images came out for Azrith. Then we got Nivron acting all sassy and holy and whatever. And then we got the twins, and they are just embodying who they are. They kind of give like edgy vibes, very edgelordy. And then with logo, so I just centered it how Harry does it on his Instagram and how he does it. I'll insert a picture of what he actually does. I just did the same thing as he does. So it is finally time for the film and the reel. So I'm actually going to show you the long cut version and instead of the 30-second version, so you get the full thing. So let's watch the Hero Campaign film. So I also created a 10 to 15 second reel. Well, it actually ended up being 20 seconds, but don't tell anyone, which I will also play now. So yeah, that reel was basically just a cut down from the film, pretty basic. It's sort of like a teaser for the campaign, which many brands will do. They'll create a teaser for a campaign or film, and that's what I did. So next is the e-commerce images. So here we've got Azrith, Nivron, and the twins. Pretty basic stuff. Plain white background, clean, minimal, gets the job done. And now it is for the advertorial, the Dazed. And like I said, I love how these came out. I'm really happy with the layout I did for them as well. So this is the first spread, the second spread, I love it a lot, and the final spread. What I'll do is I'll also put up on the screen now of the images without them being on the spread, so you get an actual good look of how the images came out. I think they are so cool, and they maybe perhaps might be a favorite, and I might prefer them more to how the campaign images came out. Next is time for marketing communications. So marketing communications are like what the e-commerce platform looks like, what social media post looks like, what a billboard looks like, that sort of thing. So this is how the homepage would look like. So on the homepage, you'd see the 30-second campaign film, and then you'd also scroll down and you'll see the new arrivals. So this will be them, those items, those garments in all their glory. And then e-commerce activation. So this is what they look like individually if you were to click on them. So it has the name, the price, and a short description about it. And then a print media advertising. So this is just like an advertisement that you'd see in magazines. If you open up a fashion magazine, you might see a perfume ad or some random ad. That's what this is. It's an advertisement in a random magazine, pretty much. And now the billboard. So I actually created a video for the billboard mock-up. It kind of looks a bit wonky though, I'm not gonna lie, but I think it gets the job done and it's very effective and I'm pretty proud of it. Surprise, surprise, my light has gone out. But these are the social media mock-ups as well. So we've got Instagram posts and a YouTube video of the campaign film. I'll also put up on the screen the mock-ups because they're quite small on this page. So if you want to get a better view of the social media mock-ups, I'll put them up now as I'm speaking. And then to end the deck, it will be a summary. So this is kind of like the overview, but summarize and just telling you what that whole thing was about. And then I thank you for listening. So that is the video done. And I am so sorry if this video was a complete and utter mess. I hope you found it somewhat entertaining and enjoyed me actually talking through the whole entire process. If you liked that, let me know, because next project is going to be our final one. So if you want to see that one, let me know and I will record that process as well. But also make sure you like and subscribe this video. It would really mean a lot. And also comment down below what your favorite part about the campaign I created was, or any images you really liked, stuff like that. Let me know. And also follow me on Instagram because that's where I'm gonna post the film and also the images too. So go over there, follow me on Instagram and like those. And yeah, that's the video done. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you maybe in the next 2 months again. We'll see. And it's gone out again. That's my cue to leave, I think. Okay, bye.